So which takes us to the next segment of this discussion about safety criticality of the work. And Melinda, since I have you here, um, right, we use these terms, and I think probably more traditional automotive where we have very defined, verification validation cycles of having a product, having a software out, and then it goes through the full V&V cycle. We lock in the changes, and that kind of goes out through the V&V process before deployment. Uh, I believe for autonomous vehicles, I think the backbone is very similar. I think we are all kind of using the similar standard systems engineering, VM kind of following that. But I also believe that there are different flavors by which we do this, achieve the same goals, maybe by different variations of that process. So how do you see this triage and performance evaluation analysis that kind of goes in? Is it a part of the same V&V model that we do as an industry, or that's more of a unstructured input that goes into a more formal structured V&V output?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's still something that's under development. I don't think anybody's quite figured out exactly the right way to do it. I think there's lots of really good progress out there from many companies that are obviously have launched commercial, fully driverless solutions are doing it safely. And so, I think it becomes really important to think about the kind of implications of the metrics and insights that we are getting from data, and like how those are going to be used to make decisions that are safety critical. And when it comes to kind of, traditional V&V or kind of acceptance testing, in my view, I think it's just really important to make sure you know what question you're really trying to answer. Are you trying to, there's a big difference between, is this AV product ready to go driverless in a new geographic location, or versus like, did this new model release improve our handling of crosswalk pedestrians? And so the types of information and the types of processes that you're going to do to answer those two different questions is probably going to be different. And I think appropriately so, right? And when you can reduce risk by, for developmental testing, having a safety driver behind the wheel, when you can reduce risk in that way, I think it can be really appropriate to look at very different metrics and very different pieces of data to kind of make the determination to answer that question, versus when you're when you're trying to answer the big question of, are we ready to launch this product? And it really just comes down to like knowing what question you are trying to answer, and then how we funnel our data and insights into that.
Right. I think you mentioned an important word there, right? The risk tolerance, and I think the quantification of the risk and sort of putting that into a risk framework, right? It's different for different companies, and I think it has to be, right? Because this is not a autonomy and autonomous vehicles is a technology we're developing, we're evolving, every single day. Now there are some more common benchmarks, that we have compared to, what we used to have like 10 years back, right? Before then, it was all about, okay, go and try and see what sticks, and if it doesn't stick, try to do something different. Now that definitely has changed, but importantly, the framework and how we do it is still very different for different companies depending on their phases of where they are in the overall commercial launch. Nick, any commentary on from your end? I mean, you're kind of getting close to commercial launch. Anything that you can share in the public forum? Of course, if it's internal, let's not.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'll keep some things tight-lipped, but I can definitely speak more generally. I guess just to kind of reiterate what Melinda mentioned. I mean, I think performance evaluation is inherently safety critical, as it really is sort of like the first line of defense in identifying failures. I think. I certainly think that performance evaluation and the formal V&V process go hand in hand, because performance evaluation feeds into that formal V&V. But I do think they, serve some distinct roles for autonomy development. I think inherently you want your evaluation to be fast and iterative, right? Where V&V, I think, provides a more formal rigor before deployment or leading up to your deployment, and certainly after, right? Because I think the performance evaluation itself is meant to identify those key failure modes. So you've got some perception blind spots, or you've got, over braking, under braking, something, that was kind of happening. Those insights from the evaluation then go to refine your validation and your coverage for your test set. So because I'm in Pittsburgh and it's foggy a lot, I'll just use an example. But if you find some failures that or deficiencies around foggy conditions, you first thing should you use that data to say, okay, well, do we have any fog specific test scenarios? What does that coverage look like? Do we expect it to perform well? And if so, then that we would consider that a test escape. Something's off there. If we don't expect it to perform well, we might ask ourselves, well, for like the V&V process, do we have a coverage gap? Do we need to build more tests? Whether that's on a test track or in a simulated environment, or do we need to go manually drive in anytime there's fog to collect some more data? So I think that's a crucial part of it is being really in tune with your coverage from that perspective. And then you're going to continue to formally test the system against that before you deploy. And then certainly sort of back to that cycle and flywheel is that, if you find that there are failures in your V&V, or you do have a coverage gap, once you have those tests created, then it's back to the performance evaluation of these new tests and how they fit in with the overall coverage. So,
Right.
so yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think they all kind of your structured systems engineering V&V and your performance analysis. And performance analysis, I think, is a more general term. You can use it for even when you do your systems V&V, right? I mean, they're kind of all feeding out and feeding into one another. So quite a lot of overlap between these different sections.